Good morning, everyone. It's really a privilege to be here today. So thank you so much for joining the webinar. So I'll just share my screen. It should be number 3. So you all see my screens? If yes, can I see a few? Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get ourselves started. I would also like to acknowledge that the custodians of the land on which I'm running this session, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and also recognize the traditional owners of the countries from where you're all joining this session. And I pay my respect to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present in this session. All right, so a little bit of to-do list for the session today. I'm going to give a bit of context for the workshop today. That is followed by, and that includes an activity. That's then followed by a mini talk, 15-minute talk about how I arrived at this idea of information experience design. And then we will, in a series of activities, get together to practice information experience design, and then through another kind of Menti activity, we will think about the workshop and reflect on the workshop and our experience. All right, so first of all, why we are in this workshop today. The thing is that a few years ago, I did a study that was my postdoc study into migrants' information literacy. And as you know, this year is the 50th year that we have coined the term information literacy. Since the time that it was coined, information literacy has been reconceptualized and further conceptualized. And one of the most recent reconceptualization of information literacy is talks about the way that people use information to learn, right? So it is not nowadays a concept related to educational context, to formal learning, but also informal learning contexts, such as everyday, how we learn in our everyday life settings in different contexts. So that was a study into migrants' information literacy, or how they use information to learn about their new setting, about their new community. And then it was at the end of that study that I got some theoretical findings, a set of themes that we will look in the session today. And I asked, so what, right? I have these findings, but so what for the real world? And that was how I kind of ideated this idea of information experience design. And I thought, okay, it would be good if we take these findings and translate them into real world practice. And this practice could be resources, programs, services, anything, you name it, interventions that help people to improve their information literacy, to get the findings, develop interventions for them. Through that, they will develop their information literacy. And for this, I thought that, okay, if I'm building for real world, then I need real world insights, real world experience, real world knowledge from real world experts. And that's why we are all here today. For you to learn about this idea of information experience design, the process, which is an approach to enrich people's use of information to learn, and as I said, also known as information literacy. And for me to learn about the implementation phase of this information experience design, as I will mention, it has 2 phases, a research phase and implementation phase. Through that study, my postdoc study, I did the research phase, and now it's the implementation phase. And so this session is for me to learn about this implementation phase as we go through it, and also about some examples of real world interventions that we can build around these findings, built by real world people and experts. So that is the whole story of the workshop today. We can now start with some warm-up activities to kind of get an understanding of where we are with our thinking about some of the main concepts key to this workshop. And the first one is your thinking about designing or redesigning a service, a program, whatever, in your library. right? And where you would start. And for that, we have a Menti activity that, can I ask my colleague Jackie to share the link with our participants?
I've shared it there, Ellie.
Excellent, thank you so much. And where would you start when designing or redesigning a service program in your library? And we have 5 options for that. Conduct a need assessment or survey. I learned from other libraries. I conduct a pilot program or trials. I seek grant funding or external support, or I start from somewhere else that is not listed there. So where would you start when designing or redesigning? Another 9 people to vote. That's interesting to see that conducting need analysis, need assessment, or doing surveys. There is a range of ways that we can conduct need assessment, but for now, it's about would you start from need assessment or you go to other libraries to learn from them how they are designing those services, or you just pilot a program, you ideate the program and pilot it, or seek grant funding or external support for that. It's interesting that no one is going for direct to seeking grant, right? That's good. That we first need to think about what we want to do, right, about the design and redesign. And it's interesting that the major part of the room, we think that conducting a needs assessment, understanding what our users want is an important thing, and we would start from there. I would start from there. There is no wrong or right answer to this, but it's interesting to see the attention, the love that we are giving to the need assessment and what our users want, right? Okay. The next question for you is, what is your preferred, okay, now that we want to develop some understanding about our users, and that is where we start from, what is your preferred way of understanding your users' needs? Would you do surveys? Would you observe them and how they engage with your library offerings? Would you have in-depth conversation with your users, like a 1-hour chat or a focus group where you can delve into their worlds? Would you look at your usage data? Would you use another method that is not listed here, or look at your users' feedback? Do you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I brought it to the shared screen. Okay. So looking at the results so far, so 12 people have voted. We need another 16. It's interesting again that the first rank is for in-depth conversation, and it's just changing its place with observing how users engage with our library offerings. So it's interesting that survey is not ranked first. The other methods, those 5 methods are kind of the main methods that we use. It's interesting that we are not relying on usage data, which are usually some statistics, some numbers, and there is no depth. So I like the love, again, we are, the major part of the room is giving to observing our users, thinking about that, reflecting on how they engage with our library offerings and the in-depth conversations, right? So that's interesting. Okay, let's now move on to our slides. So another concept that we want to look at is the role of the library, the mission that library has. And one of the important parts of a library mission is information access and how they get people connected with information. And in order to meet this mission, library needs to have a great understanding of how people engage with information, and actually what is information for people, how they engage with that, how they interact with information, and have an understanding of people's information engagement, people's information use. And that is interesting, an area in information research that we look into. We study information for people in different contexts and how they interact with that in information behavior studies, information experiences studies, information literacy studies. This is a topic of research. So for libraries to successfully meet this mission, it's important to have that understanding. However, again, in information studies, we take information much broader and deeper than just textual information. In information studies, basically anything that can inform people can be considered as information. So because the session today intends to look at information in that way, I thought that I bring another activity for us to think about information in a more non-traditional forms in different contexts. So again, on your Menti, here's the other activity. Before that, I just give a bit of instructions to the activity. So I'm going, what is happening here? Okay, I'm going to give you a number of short scenarios. For each scenario, think of different forms of information and consider what different things could inform the character in the scenario. All right, let's go. Scenario 1, Lynn is a 40-year-old vegetarian woman. She is wondering whether she is eating a healthy diet. What informs Lynn in this scenario? What is information for Lynn? Can you think of some forms of information for Lynn? Cooking, doctor, good. WebMed, a database. Google, okay, so searching information. Dietary requirement, good. Redline, it's a database. That's good. Social media, that's good. New South Wales Health. Community, excellent. Research, library books. Dietitian, excellent. And what about Lynn's body, right? In information studies and the way that we look at information, and also in this study that we are going to talk about, the way that she feels, her feeling, her body, it's also a source of information. She can look at her body, how it's, reacting to what she eats, and find about her health, right? Interesting. Okay, information research, good. Next one. Ella wants to vote in the XYZ state election. She has a big question. Who should I vote for? What is information for Ella? How would you inform yourself when it's election time? Candidate websites, good. Media, excellent. Practitioner is a statement. AEC website, good. Friends, yeah, except for friends so far, the others are textual information she informs herself about. Google search, language of information. Oh, that's interesting. Language of information. So the tone is also informing, is information for her. Excellent. Good. Candidates website, brochures from office. So you see, again, information here is getting a bit textual. Right. Next scenario. And perhaps we skip the last one. Father of a family wants to find out whether he has a happy family. How would he find about, what would be information for him? Psychologist, good. So non-traditional information. Is he happy? His feeling, yes, good. Ask his family, okay, a conversation, that, dialogue between them. Communicate with family, good. So you see, information is not really textual here. Men's group, ask them, talk to family, conversation, good. A lot of, conversation at school, podcasts, good. Good. So that's great to see that we see, as information professionals, we see information broader than textual information and text and other. We kind of attend the other non-traditional forms of information. Excellent. Okay. And dive into our mini talk, through which I'm going to introduce you to the findings of the study, a bit of context to this study, and then what the study was about, and a bit of theoretical ideation about this information experience design, and then we will jump into our activities, brainstorming activities. All right. So everyday families worldwide are forced from their homes in search of safety, risking everything to escape conflict, disaster, poverty, or hunger. By June 2023, 110 million people were forced to leave their homes because of persecution, conflict, violence, and human rights violation. Many are stateless, which means they are missing basic rights like education and healthcare, and sadly, things aren't looking up for refugees, and the hope for a quick fix to their situation is fading fast. My mouse is not working well today. Back in 1990s, about 1.5. Okay, so back in 1990s, about 1.5 million refugees were heading home each year, but in the past decade, it's only around less than $400,000, which really shows how the gap between displacement and solution is getting wider. Refugee crises are often seen while refugees. Well, no, refugee crisis is a big humanitarian issue affecting millions of who need safety, well-being, and basic rights. Actually, there are legal and moral obligations and establish the legal frameworks for protecting the rights of refugees and provide them with assistance and support. While refugees are often seen as a burden on host countries' economies, for example, for using up resources, infrastructure, and social services, which potentially can lead to instability and conflict, they can actually fuel economic growth. When provided with work, health, and education rights, they become productive members of society, bringing valuable skills and boosting local and global trade. And this benefits both refugees and host countries, creating a win-win situation. Resettled refugees can enrich host societies economically, socially, and culturally. While there are initial costs, effectively, resettled refugees can offer valuable contributions aligning with humanitarian and moral responsibilities. Alongside many factors, information also plays a key role in settlement and integration of refugees. Research indicates that those informed are enabled to successfully navigate the integration process better than others. Refugees are often resettled to a country with an unknown society, language, and culture that is totally different from their country of birth or origin. And this creates for them a range of barriers to successful resettlement and integration in terms of employment, health, education, and income. Based on research, having access to timely, accurate, and tailored information helps refugees navigate their new country independently and make better decisions. It reduces their dependence on government support and facilitates their social inclusion, so ensures they don't remain vulnerable within their host community. And we in the information field address the refugee crisis from this information lens. And in the next 3 slides, we are going to take a very, very quick look at 3 major areas of information research into the refugees. The first one on the slide, which is actually what information scholars started with, is the research support information professionals offer to other scholars studying forced migration. So this primarily covers introducing specialized research resources and reference tools and services for forced migration research. You can see a few examples of published work in this slide. And then the second one of information, the second group of information studies we focused was where we focused on the role of information and education agents, mainly public libraries, and how the information service they provided contributed to the social inclusion of refugees settling in their new home. And finally, the third group, which involves studies that looked beyond information services and resources for refugees, and instead delved into the world of users of these services who are refugees themselves, to explore their information worlds, what is information for them, how they engage with information, and how they adapt to their new information environments. And my research efforts to address the refugee crisis also fits in this group. With this study on the slide that I mentioned earlier in the session, being the major piece of work that I have done in this area, this was my postdoc study. It was funded by Australian Research Council, the main research body, funding body in Australia. It was a qualitative study that looked into the experience of information literacy among two groups of migrants, refugees and skilled migrants, as well as the settlement services, so how they thought migrants experience information literacy. With information literacy, again, as I mentioned, being represented as using information to learn. So we took how people, how refugees, how migrants use information to learn about their new life, as their experience of information literacy. And today I'm going to talk about the refugee population. So the findings that I will show you and the interventions we work on are, focused on refugee population of this study. The analysis of the interview data resulted in an overview on how refugees experience using information to learn, which, as I said, we took as a representation of information literacy. So the 5 themes on this slide are the different ways through which refugees use information to learn about their new community. Our results show that refugees compare and contrast the 2 different environments, their past and their present, to learn about the new setting, the new life, the new home. They undertake formal education, and by formal education we mean, this it's not really going to university, but being taught by their settlement service providers, by libraries, go to settlement classes to learn about their new home and the system. They reach out for help, they ask around, they seek information for others to learn about their new home. They get engaged with the environment of the new community. They do things in the environment to learn about it. So that's one way of using information to learn about it. And they share stories. That information sharing, story sharing is another way that they learn information, that they learn about the new home. So as you can see, maybe, that there is a bit of, discussion around non-traditional forms of information that refugees use to learn about the new life. Further analysis showed that these 5 themes can be divided into 2 broad categories. And for this, we needed to category 1, in which, for this categorization, we needed to reorder the themes a little bit. So category 1 on the top is in which refugees information use is more of a facilitated experience, and category 2 in which their information use is an independent experience. So in category 1, you can see that refugee very explicitly talk about the role of mediators and agents in their information use. For example, caseworkers, interpreters, community leaders, librarians, families, friends, children, and how they help refugee interact with information in their new life setting as they resettle. The facilitation in theme 1 is more structured and controlled, while in theme 2, it is more of an on-demand and uncontrolled type of facilitation. Then in category 2, at the bottom, the 3 themes at the bottom, we have themes of independent ways of using information. No facilitation or intervention by agents is required when using information in these ways. Instead, the refugees take on a more proactive and contributory role in their information use. So when comparing and contrasting, when sharing the stories, when getting engaged, refugees appear to have more agency in how they use information to learn. They go beyond being a dependent recipient of information in these ways and rather take charge in their information use. For example, refugees in theme 3 show a very strong past connected, personal and internal way of using information. information. In theme 4, they show a clear social and sharing focus in their information use, whether through interactions in the host country or with those back home. And in theme 5, getting engaged, they show the most independency in their information use. They very independently immerse themselves in the broad information environment of their host country to learn it. So looking at the themes in this sequence suggests a trend towards increasing independency in information use. This progression indicates a shift from facilitated experience towards greater independence. And if we want to unpack this a little bit more, looking at the results, we can assume that an individual may engage with information in one or more of these ways to learn. The more diverse their engagement with information, the richer and more complex and sophisticated their interaction with information becomes. So if we compare someone who just goes to resettlement classes and just learns through what information is taught to them, there is a difference between this person to another individual who not only go to classes and get information from that way, but also get engaged with the environment, they share stories, they compare and contrast, they're aware of these ways. And the more varied ways they come to experience, so if they can experience all these 5 ways or more than one way, the wider their awareness of these ways become. A refresher here that we said that this study, in this study, we looked at using information to learn as a representation of information literacy. So these 5 ways that we have uncovered are actually the ways of experiencing information literacy. And considering these ways as experiences of information literacy means that individuals who engage with a wider range of using information can be assumed more information literate. For example, if someone, as I said, just goes to classes and that's their main way of using information compared to someone who engages with information in a range of ways, that second person could be considered more information literate. They know how to use information in more different ways to become aware, to learn about the new context. And because of the significance of information in the resettlement and integration process we discussed earlier, being more information literate translates to a smoother journey in resettlement and integration of refugees. Also experiencing more independent ways of using information, so the ones in the lower part of the diagram, may foster a sense of empowerment and independence. So those being able to engage with information in more independent ways may also experience a more independent resettlement and integration process. So this was exactly where I kind of stopped the postdoc and thought, okay, so what? We have these understandings. We know that if people are being able to engage with information in more different ways that are more information literate, but where to go from here? So I thought that, okay, what can I do with these findings, with this understanding? And I thought, went further with the ideation of this information experience design and thought, okay, what I need to do, my homework, or, you know, me and real world people's homework would be thinking about how can we support individuals in becoming aware of all these ways. So if they are already aware of just one way, help them become aware of more different ways. How can we motivate individuals to engage with information in all these ways, especially the more independent ways, the ones in the lower part of the diagram? And how can we empower individuals to consciously choose the most suitable way to engage with information? So, for example, they know what would be the most suitable and relevant way of using information at any given time. Actually, what we have ahead is thinking about the development of information literacy among refugees. And I know that in, you know, everyday life setting, we don't call it information literacy, but that's the same concept. And more practically, we can use the observed transition pattern towards greater independence in using information to inform the design or redesign of our resettlement and integration offerings. The offerings that strategically and smoothly expand individuals' experiences of using information to learn, offerings that support them to engage with information in more varied ways, so they can hopefully experience a shift from more dependent to more independent information use, from the top of the diagram to the bottom of the diagram. So our task would be, I thought that our task would be tailoring services or programs that can, or interventions that effectively attend and integrate all these identified ways or a combination of them in their design. So for example, when designing a piece of resettlement learning experience for refugees through education, attending classes and workshops, they learn about an aspect of the new environment, legal system, and then be supported by caseworkers or librarians to help them understand and interpret that information to see how it relates to their own personal situation. Getting a lot of information so quickly in a class, they might need help making sense of it and applying it to their own unique situation. And also, they should be guided to independently use it themselves. So providing them support and interventions that help them engage with information in a range of ways, so they become more information literate. And I'm calling this approach information experience design, which is about building interventions to diversify and enrich using information to learn, all based on a theoretical understanding of these diverse ways. So the approach includes a research phase, circle on the right, which explores how differently people in any context, and in our case, migrants and refugees in a settlement and integration setting, use information to learn. And then an implementation phase, circle on the left, where interventions are crafted to support engagement with as many identified ways as possible. So these interventions enable the targeted community to engage with information in more sophisticated and powerful ways, through which they become more effective information users, better decision makers, and in other words, information literate citizens. And given this enhancement and empowerment in information use that this approach can achieve, I consider it as a mobilizer and tool for information literacy development. Earlier today, we discussed how information impacts refugees' journey to settle and integrate effectively. Related to this, social exclusion among refugees in their new communities is seen as an information challenge. So an approach like information experience design, all about improving information use and empowerment, can help address this issue of social exclusion from an information perspective and by information experts. By enriching how information is handled, this approach can push for a social progress, supporting refugees blend in and feel at home in their new communities. So this was the whole idea of information experience design, the findings and a snapshot of the concept. Any questions so far? Perhaps we have 1 minute to take questions, and then we will need to move on to the next phase, which is the implementation phase of information experience design. Let's move on and get our hands dirty and brainstorm some interventions together about these themes. A bit of instruction here. So what's going to happen? You're going to go into breakout rooms 5 times, each time to work on one of these themes. In each round in your breakout room, you will brainstorm a library offering. It could be or more, if you like, if you have time, pertinent to the theme in that round. So for each offering, you will complete the column of the theme table that will be provided to you. outlining the type of your offering. Is it a workshop? Is it a pamphlet? Is it a talk? You name it, right? The title, perhaps don't worry about the title because of the time, and that these, activities are very just, quick activities. Learning objectives. So what you want your participants who are refugees to take away from these sessions. A short description of your offering, just to know what it is about and what it intends to do, and evaluation method. How would you evaluate that, your offering? Perhaps you will need to nominate, but I will leave it with the groups, how you want to work together, but it's my recommendation is to nominate one person from your group to add your thoughts to the breakout room column. And I'm going to show you an example of the table. Following each round of brainstorming related to a theme, we will come back together in a main room to review your proposed offerings. Okay, so this is an example of a table that will be provided to you. So we're going to share a Google document with you, where you will find 5 tables. In each round, you will focus on one of the tables. You will just need to put your notes in the row for your breakout room. So if you are in breakout room 1, talk about your offering about that theme. So the first one will be undertaking education. How you will what would be an example of an offering that the library can offer for refugees to engage with information through undertaking education? And as I said, education, we don't mean, formal education, but, being taught a direct kind of form of information delivery. And so what is the type of that offering? I said, don't worry about the title, learning objectives, description of the offering, and evaluation method, right? So each breakout room finds their row and put their notes there. And then you will have time. The first one is this one. You will have 5 minutes to go to your breakout room, put your notes in your row, and come back to the main room. Okay, so Jackie, can I please ask you to share the Google Doc with participants, please? Yeah. And how many people do we have in the room? Perhaps
we're going to have 5 breakout rooms, and
yeah, 5 is good. 5 and 5.
There will be 5 to 6 people in each room.
Yeah, sure, it's good. Thank you.
And so just going to open those rooms now. And so everyone's first step will to be decide who their scribe is, and then to start filling in the table. Off we go.
Okay, welcome back. That was amazing work that you did. I very much liked the types of offering that you have ideated and you have added to the table. So breakout room need to know about services in the new town, right? So yes, we can have classes, we can have some offerings, right? Not necessarily classes, to provide information about, different services in the new town. Breakout room information sessions for information sessions, right? So there are sessions, the type of the offering information sessions, how to navigate MyGov and Medicare websites. Excellent. Providing information about other services outside the library, including education services and English classes in the area, TAFE classes, multicultural services. Brilliant, right? So these are more, as you can see, these are more information sessions, letting them know that, hey, this is the environment, portraying the environment for them. There was one interesting point in breakout room 5 that inviting some of more settled refugees to come and talk to new arrivals, right? You are kind of activating, enabling another form of information use for refugees, which is sharing stories, right? So you are combining 2 ways of using information in one offering, right? That's brilliant, but we could, keep it for when we talk about sharing stories, right? So sharing stories is one way for refugees to learn about the new setting. So bringing them together to talk is one way. Yes, we said don't worry about the titles. I like the learning objectives and how beautifully you have kind of phrase what you want your refugees to take out of these sessions, information sessions. Then the descriptions kind of are related to type of offering, and the evaluation method. Attendance, yeah, we see if they come back. Visual representation of services provided, map or diagram, or services available. This is more about the, so the evaluation method is more about how we evaluate this offering, right? Knowledge of what's happening in the community. This is a bit, different from how we evaluate the feedback survey is good. So we see how they receive these information sessions. And hearing their stories, partner and library staff feedback. Yes, evaluation will be through participation numbers and return participants. Good, excellent. So now let's go to the next theme, which is the next table, the pink table, where you will be kind of brainstorming about offerings that you can design for your library to enable, to help refugees reach out for help. What would be that type of offering look like, right? How can you support refugees with a type of offering, reach out for help, ask for help, ask direct questions? What would that type of offering look like? What would that, would it be a service or program? What would you provide refugees to support them with this, right? So let's go back to our breakout rooms and come back perhaps in 4 minutes and have a chat about your notes. Excellent, everyone. So I assume that this was a bit more challenging because, well, it was kind of a non-traditional way of providing information to users, which is which is refugees in our case. And I see that you have gone beyond sessions, although we have that migrant event showcasing language collections and programs or welcome dinners, but I see that the sessions have gone, a bit casual, informal. Migrant welcome event at the library, welcome dinners at the library. And I see how focused the sessions have got. So the offerings have got, for example, targeted sessions with different needs and different language based on area. The learning objectives, familiarizing with the system, outreach, connection with community, bringing awareness to available cultural groups in the community, making connections and networks between new migrants, language, schools, introducing people to the library to collections and offerings. So you are connecting them to the information in this session. So it is more of allowing them to get connected and kind of take charge of their information use rather than providing the information to them one way. That's really interesting. And again, attendance and survey, attendance and collaboration, uptake and usage by resettlement services. These are interesting observations. Uptake by refugee communities. So you see that if there are, going from there and feedback from resettlement services, you connect them and you see how it goes after that. Excellent. Do you want to take 2-minute stretch break and come back at, all right. So let's now jump into our tables again, this time for comparing and contrasting. How would you support your refugee community with an offering? It could be a service, it could be a workshop, it could be anything, for them to compare and contrast their past and present through which they can learn. Right? So this is the idea that you are going to work on in the next 4 minutes in your groups. Welcome, everyone. So this is amazing. I see a lot of information sharing stories, but this time about differences, and that tells me something about my findings that I need to take into consideration when I talk about the, findings in future. That, some of the perhaps themes are nested within each other. I see a lot, again, bringing together people and letting them share, but this time differences, right? How things were at home and how things are in Australia in the new setting. Through that, allowing them to learn about the new setting. And I think, given the notes that were there, I think this resonated a lot strongly with what you are, already doing. This is really interesting. So the things that are the questions, look at breakout room 5. They already have, questions. Seemingly you have an offering already in your library. The health conversations, what are parent-teacher interviews. So all aspects of, so you choose all aspects, breakout room 5, you have chosen different aspects of the new setting and have let people compare their home and the new setting, the host country, in terms of those aspects. Good. Again, evaluation methods, observation, attendance, engagement, feedback. And it's mainly about feedback. So how things went for you. Excellent. Good. Let's skip, because I see that a lot of, sharing stories and story sharing has happened and you're a kind of that is very kind of clear and very vivid in other offerings. Let's skip that themes and delve into theme 5, which is in the olive table, the last table, which is about getting engaged. Again, with this table, give me some type of offerings and brainstorm some offerings you would design or you already have in your library that allows your community, your refugee community, get engaged with the new environment, right? It doesn't have to be necessarily a class or something or a workshop or gathering, but something that allows them independently get engaged with the environment, or kind of guides them to go and get engaged with the environment, right? So go into your tables and in your breakout rooms and then in your tables and have your beautiful ideas there. Everyone. Welcome, everyone. Just before you came back from your rooms, Jackie and I were having this chat, but Jackie asked me, are you excited about this finding? And I said, yes. And I feel like I want to sit with these people for a full day and have a deep conversation about the insights that they are putting and the ideas they are putting into these tables, specifically this table 5, that kind of surprised me. I had something else in my mind regarding the interventions and how the findings of that theme, how that theme would be translated into intervention. So I was thinking of mainly ways to let refugees engage with the new environment, kind of ways to let them do things themselves. One of the the closest one to my thoughts is that breakout rooms 2's idea, where you have said linking local migrant organizations to bring them into the public library and other important community facilities, for them to see that, for them to engage with the library, do things in the library so they get familiarized themselves at least with the library space as part of the new environment. But if we look at like the ideas in the table 3, the aspects that breakout room 5 had identified, like educational environment, school, colleagues, universities, parent and teacher kind of relationships, culturally appropriate and gender appropriate sessions. So these aspects, so what would be ways that library can provide for refugee community to engage within these aspects in more tangible ways, right? So rather than direct information sessions, what would be the ways that they can kind of jump into the new community and do things? But that's exciting. And thanks so much for your thoughts. I'm really excited about these thoughts, and I'm already looking for opportunities to have deeper conversations about this and doing more of these sessions and brainstorming with real world people in individual libraries. Okay, so let's move on with feedback. And through this Menti activity, I would like to get some reflections on this experience, right? So rather than the whole, workshop, the experience of getting these findings in theory and working together, brainstorm some ideas about this intervention. So, what do you think about this whole experience of being presented some theoretical findings and translating it into practice, right? And what do you want more, or what you liked or disliked? So let's go to our Mentimeter, right? Jackie, if you can reshare that link, please. And this is the question. So let me put this. Do you see my Menti page? Yes, excellent. Okay, so what did you like about the workshop today? Please put some thoughts there. How was your, the first impression, or the first thing that you can think of? Brainstorming, okay? You like that brainstorming aspect, you like the conversational learning, you like that it was practical, you like that it was interactive, you had the interactions. I very much loved that. If we could have interactions, it was action-based. Oh, lots of beautiful ideas here. You like the engagement, you like the onlineness of the session. It was research-based, it was small groups, plain language, good. Great chats, that's good. That's good. Excellent. Right. Variety of libraries that I was a bit concerned about, but seemingly you like that aspect. Okay. Let's now move on and work on the next activity and the next question. What did you dislike about the workshop? And feel free to put anything. I don't get offended. These are all, constructive feedback for future workshops, right? So feel free to put anything. No group chat, not in real life. Yeah, I know. Not enough time for rooms. I know. And I skipped one of the rooms. I needed to, yeah, that's some good learning for me as well. Not enough time, too quick. Yes, limited time, so timing. Yeah. Quick changes for room. Yeah, but you did really well. I'm so kind of impressed. So focus on refugees. Quick changes. Okay, so mainly to rush the rooms. Yeah, mainly the timing was what you didn't like, which is a good consideration for future. Ready for next question? Did you encounter any challenges during the workshop or while participating in the activities? And let's focus on that brainstorming experience that you had, right? So I know that timing was a challenge, right? It was too rushed, too quick. Which is sometimes good, that you don't overthink something, right? But in terms of that, I'm asking this in terms of that translation of findings to practice. What was challenging for you? What would, and I think I don't have a question for how would we fix this, but what was the challenge for you in that brainstorming context? Time, yep. Thinking differently, getting away from the notion of storytelling after having the idea. Clarity of the question on each slide, needed a reevaluation of what each slide meant before being thrown in. Yes, I agree. You know, when I was sending you to the breakout rooms, I also realized that I wish I had more time to unpack this a little bit further and send people and have some chat. That's why I said that I need a full day on this. Would have liked more time to discuss ideas, some great ideas I would have loved to explore further. Me too. Tables needed clearer heading and instructions, so the presentation of the materials, a bit more clarification of the themes and how they apply these to breakout rooms. Yes, agree. So mainly instructions. There is some, mainly instructions and how things worked for you, you know, in terms of the process. Okay. Misleading title of the session, you mean? I wish you could show me somehow with that misleading title and could confirm with me if this was the title of the session and workshop. A short survey ahead of the workshop about your understanding, you mean? Right, okay. And the next one, do we have another one? What is one takeaway you gained from the workshop today? Anything? Variety of options available to engage in information literacy. Copy the table, so I have lots. Too hard to choose just one. A simple table structure to develop programs and services. Libraries are wonderful people, of course. That there is a lot more that can be done to connect new migrants to useful information. Libraries are part of this. Yeah, the libraries, I would say, heart of this. These findings can be used to inform information seeking behavior for all library users. They're a useful foundation. Some libraries are doing amazing things and are very generous sharing ideas. I agree. At the heart of any library, refugees communities use information to learn in a variety of ways and how we engage them and provide them in vast. Yes, that's good. Information literacy is a contribution to social inclusion. Yeah. Libraries need better public relations to let people know how wonderful they are. Increasing independence of users. That's really good that you have seen. One takeaway for you has been reflecting again on the value of libraries and what an important role libraries can play in getting people connected with information. Libraries information. Good. And I think we are running out of time. Yeah, can you just vote very quickly for this one? Do you think your colleagues at your library would be open to adopting this approach? And by this approach, I mean, you know, doing the talk and, kind of give more time to these activities and have that conversation to delve deeper into these ideas that you put. Yeah. Good. 13 people, a few more responses. Yep, thank you. Good. And let's stop here. I think that was the last slide. I think we ran out of time, but I have my email address here in case you wanted to if you have any questions or insights to share, if you're doing something similar in your library or would like to kind of find out more about this approach, let's connect and continue the discussion beyond this workshop. Thank you so much for joining the session. Thanks, Jackie, for your help with the breakout rooms, with sharing links, and my colleagues in ALIA Multicultural for giving me this opportunity.
And thank you to you, Ellie, for sharing this tool of information experience design, IXD. I think it's wonderful at this time where the term information literacy is having its 50th anniversary, that we're really seeing what a wonderful tool it is for library services to build social inclusion. And it's been wonderful to thank you everyone for your participation and sharing your experiences with Ellie today. And Ellie, we hope that the group has provided you with some real world examples that that will enrich your study. Thanks to everyone, and have a great day. Bye now.